Hasta glad to be back, and I'm glad to be here with all of you. Yeah, it's going to be a fun podcast we've got here. I'm excited to go over our topics.
Yeah, this will be a good one, and this is going to be definitely a good week to start it. And we have two guests with us this week. First, you might know him as the rank 1 combined player on the NA ladder. He is the Swiss Army knife for Bay State Overwatch.
Yeah,
it's Neb. How are you, Neb?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right so far.
Yeah, we're just out here winning games, you know.
All you do is win, 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 no matter what. Speaking of winning, our other guest, two-time contenders champ, the official 7th man of Redbirds Esports. It's React. How's it going, React?
Good. How about you?
Oh, we are doing this. This is fun. This is a good time. So, this is the Cow Tipping podcast on the Overwatch Collegiate channel on Twitch. We apologize for the technical issues at the beginning. You were probably seeing this either on Coach Thumper's channel or on the actual Overwatch Collegiate channel itself. There was some issues with the OBS key, and we will get those figured out for next time. But in the meantime, gentlemen, we have a lot to discuss tonight. There's been a lot of Overwatch that's happened in the last couple of weeks, and it's been fun. It's actually been fun to sit back and watch because, unlike everybody else in this call, we're not doing it. We're at ABC. Ashland's out of ABC, so and we're off to a hot start in the NACE tournament, let me tell you. So,
yeah. It's nice we get a 2-week break for ABC, so we can focus on NACE for this week.
The grind that is going to be NACE this weekend. The grind that is going to be NACE. So
it's a lot of matches going into double elimination there. They've really fit a lot in and heading into the holiday season.
Yeah, I mean, so far we have a couple games that have had results at this point. Unfortunately, we lost to Ontario Tech because we couldn't hear our team for 2 of the 3 maps that we played. That was great. So
how did that go? You guys went up against Ontario Tech. What did they run against you? For those that didn't catch it live.
They played some stuff out of the wild. They played a little bit of Doomfist. They played we saw a little bit of Rushdown, and they played an Ana on King's Row, and nobody noticed that the Ana was still sitting on the statue for the entire the entire attack. And I'm just wait a second, hold on. The first time they went in, I'm just does nobody see that the Ana shots are still coming up from up there? But it's fine. So
minor detail, sure.
We had a little bit of issues. There was some other teams playing in our lab, the standard, as you call it on your stream, Temporo, the standard college issues. That can be one of them when there's 3 different teams that have matches tonight all at the same time, and they all have players playing in the same room. So, it's fun. So
sure.
Looking at the NACE bracket, who do we think is going to make a run?
Well, I'm perfectly happy sharing that I'm already wrong. My thought was, hey, Illinois Orange, that top quadrant of the bracket, that looks like the softest quadrant of the bracket. Not going to be the case. I still think that's the place to look, that quadrant of the 4. If we can get that pulled up there, that would be fantastic. But what we're looking for with our quadrant here is that's got Mizzou, Rit Orange, it had Illinois Orange, it has Winthrop, it has Lords. It doesn't have what we sort of recognize as the big 6 in there. So seeing a Lords come out of there and then potentially make a deeper run, that could be interesting. I think it's going to be tough for anyone unpredictable to make a run in the other quadrants of the bracket there. But, that's just my thoughts on it.
I'm willing to all in on Mizzou and Lords. I think one of them's going to go through the losers. One of them's going to go through the winners bracket for a while.
Okay.
All right.
I got buddies on both teams. I got some faith.
Neb, what do you think? Looking at the bracket,
I think the Lords Winthrop matchup is going to be a lot more important than people give it credit. I think they're right really on the same level, so that might be the best match in that block of tomorrow.
I will say, did you guys see who won between RIT and Illinois?
Was it RIT?
Yeah.
RIT did beat Illinois. That was the first one that, and I will say that we played them in warmups for tonight, and they looked really good. They came out really crisp, and they were making really, really good set plays. Their ultimate cycles were really strong, and they were just playing as a unit that was really well, and I was very surprised going into it.
Representing the Eastern Conference with us, basically. I think they were second place in that conference.
All right.
I believe.
Yeah, no, they would have had to be. Only get 2 wins, so it would have had to be them. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, all right. So that's the first one. So I will actually say that I think that it's going to be Lords or Mizzou, but I am ready to be wrong because I think both of those teams are really good. And conveniently, I think we've played almost everybody on this one except Illinois this year at some point. So,
okay. So that sort of answers the question of like who can go deep, but like there's the open question of who can win this. I mean, React fortunately doesn't have his team in there, so the rest of the schools are looking at that going, who can actually get all the way through and win this? Is this Northwood? Is this a Bay State? Is this a Texas, Harrisburg? Or do we have, hey, Converse's fixed their issues? They obviously did some impressive stuff in ABC where they took down Irvine before losing to them twice. Like, who's going to win it all?
That is a good question. Who is going to win it all? React, I'm going to go to you first.
I've got a lot of faith in UTD. I think they've shown their work ethic, their promise, and everything else to. They've shown that they've got it, honestly. So that's my pick.
Okay. Neb, coming to you next.
I mean, I got to choose Bay State to win it all. Like unbiased, I think we have a really good shot.
Okay.
Because if you look back up at the top bracket, I think we're unmatched. Because Temporal said there's no other on the Big Six in the top bracket, so we should have a free shot to winners finals, and that gives us a good shot to win it all, in my opinion. If we get that first win in winners finals, we get to pick map for grand finals, and we'll have 2 weeks to prepare. So
that is true. That is true. That is a very good point. I definitely have looked at this multiple times over and over again, and that quadrant that's Boise, Northwood, and Harrisburg down at the bottom, I just keep looking at that, and I am so glad that we didn't get drawn into that area at all. I think most teams are happy that they didn't get drawn into that area at all. Just let them fight it out on the bottom side. Like, hey, you guys take care of it down there. We're just going to be up here. Definitely the top side of it with you guys at Bay State and Mizzou and your Winthrop and your Lords definitely is looking very good. Temporal, have you actually officially gone on the record, said who do you think can win?
In terms of who I think can win this all, yeah. So I generally have UTD ahead of Northwood in my power rankings. I like UTD. I know some of the players over there. I do also know players at Northwood. But when it comes down to it, I do look at this and go, well, UTD is definitely a very good team with some good talent. And then on top of that, they've got Pedal. I think what they put together with their takedown of Northwood in the past was still more in the, hey, do you guys get this 8 times out of 10 or 4 times out of 10, and we landed on one of the 4. I think on a long double elimination bracket like this, where it's going to be a long weekend full of constant playing, that a little bit more of the what we'll call experience in the contender scene, where it gets very used to the longer scrim hours and things like that, is going to prove through, and we're going to see the endurance in this longer 5 rounds, per match bracket payoff for them.
I definitely think that there is a element to it of when you play so many matches in a weekend, do you have that resilience? Do you have that fortitude? Kind of looking at it like, are you set and prepared to play 7 best of 5s in a weekend? Like, if you have a team that started in the play-in stage somehow, making it all the way to grand finals, and they drop them a series earlier or something like that, you're playing a lot of Overwatch this weekend. So I definitely like the UTD pick. I like the Northwood pick just because it's a team that is strong. I like the Bay State pick. I don't want to go on the record because I kind of want to see how this first set of games tomorrow actually plays out before I consider it, because there's a lot of Overwatch to be played yet. So
Oh, that's cool. Make us all stake our prides on our.
Hey,
picks.
okay,
We're
fine. You
definitely
know
gonna
what?
get
I'm
wrong.
gonna. You know what? Hey, I also said for anybody who's said it earlier. I guess this was before the stream started. I've got 3 wonderful minds in Overwatch, and then some random guy that knows how to talk halfway decently that they bring in to make sure that everyone is on track. And you know what? I'll go on the record and I'll say that Northwood is the team that wins it all. I guess I'll spice it up a little bit since a couple of people have said UTD and of course a Bay State in there. So, all right. So, doing that, is there anything else that you guys want to highlight from NACE before we move on?
I gotta say the BSC versus BSC matchup tomorrow night. You know,
Not gonna be confused. Not gonna be confusing at all. Not gonna be confusing at all.
You got
You
the
think they'll
you
mix
got
up your icons again? No.
the yeah.
Well, you guys have already played this year a couple times, haven't you?
Yeah, we played in NECC. I believe it was a 3-0.
Okay.
I gotta represent BSC because everyone says BSU for Bay State University, and that belongs to Boise. So we got to be the superior BSC.
So did you guys purposely do BSC instead of BSU for that reason alone, or?
No, we're classified as a college, so we can't do.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Never mind. So, if anything, we've learned that way too many schools have similar acronyms. Just need to change the names of the university so that the Overwatch and esports programs can benefit a little bit more from it.
That won't
Totally.
cost too much at all, honestly.
No.
Nah. What are you talking about? I mean, Ashland was a college until like 1997, and then we're now a university. So we were AC before, and it's fine. I saw that change in my lifetime, so that was pretty cool. Said no one ever. All right, moving on to the next topic. We've been talking about it for ABC. So, ABC teams. Is there a team that surprises you that's not in the top 16 for ABC? I guess we should go through and list the names of the teams that have made it at this point so far, just in case people don't know. Does anybody have that list on hand? Just so when I go ahead and pull it up. Oh, hey, there it is. Look at that. It's up on stream at this point. Just kidding. So the teams in it at this point are Illinois State, Northwood, UT Dallas, Maryville, Harrisburg, Bay State, Irvine, UC Santa Cruz, SCAD, Boise State, Utah, Northeastern, Converse, Illinois, Penn State, and Florida. Okay. Pretty good list of schools that have made the top 16. Is there any school that jumps out to you that did not make it? Let's go to Neb first because I've gone to everybody else first so far.
I'd say Lords. I think they have a good squad. You know, they were top 8 at HuFest when I was watching them. Bay State has good friends on that team. So I think they should have made it. I don't know exactly who's in their group, but they're definitely a top 16 talent team. And I think they deserve to be in there over some of the other teams.
Okay.
They had a pretty tough bracket. If memory serves, they had Utah and SCAD both in their bracket, so that was always going to be a tough one for top 16 teams to get out in, mostly because SCAD had such terrible Swiss performance. Or not performance, such a terrible Swiss draw, yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely something that would affect it to react. We're going to go backwards from what I said earlier. Is there a team that didn't make top 16 that surprises you?
That didn't
make it. Or if you want to do a team that made top 16 that surprises you, I know there's a couple in there.
I mean, I'll one up you and do both.
Okay, there you go. I like to hear it.
I'm kind of surprised that that regular Illinois made it, and I'm also surprised that Ohio State didn't make it. I know Illinois got Chopper on the team, and I'm sure that he, pulled one out of the hat for them to get this far. But I'm really not worried, but I guess surprised by Ohio State not making it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one that I was, because I think I had them preded to just win out. Like I thought they had a really good shot of just making it into playoffs fairly handily, because who did they play? They played Penn State round 1. if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yeah, so I had them favored, but I don't know what happened. Again, it's the college experience, as some people like to, as Temporal likes to call it. So, speaking of Temporal, what do you think? What are your surprises about this list about ABC?
I mean, I think we're all surprised by 3 teams that made it in there, and I think they're the same 3 teams that were all surprised there. Illinois Orange was a little less of a shock to me because I had seen the performance that they'd taken down Ohio State in NACE just a couple days before, that Ohio State had not made it through. So maybe that was the beginning of a trend that made that a little less surprising to me. I was surprised, though, that Miami, Ohio didn't put it together and make it through to top 16. Like, they haven't been amazing this year, but we've scrimmed a lot with them in previous seasons, and they've always snapped it together when it counts and been there. And it just didn't happen this time. They lost out in the bracket. And they have a former Owl player there, and that's always surprising to be like, wait, how far has Overwatch advanced that can happen? Obviously, college experience still happens.
College experience, the lovely topic of is there a way that we can get into it and then just be like, oh, by the way, 8 hours of classes, bad days of prep beforehand, we didn't have good practice leading into it. I do like the Lords and the Miami call outs for teams that didn't make it, because I thought those were 2 teams that they had a really good shot. And then of course Florida, we've scrimmed Florida before. I think they're good, but like, you know what? I think they're good. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of good teams in collegiate at this point, with the scene growing.
I don't know that they had anything streamed, so I don't want to call out what and how they play, but I think how they play surprises people a little bit. If they're a team you're not prepped for, it can take you 2 maps to adjust, and if you're playing a first to 2, best of 3, they can potentially catch you off guard. That said, they had to catch 2 teams off guard that I think most of us would have predicted to be better than them to do it, and they did, so they earned it.
Yep. That's definitely the way that we can describe it. So, any other issue? I guess this is the question that's on the bottom down there, because I forgot about this. Does Blizzard have a tournament format issue?
Yes. Full stop. So
I forgot that was a question that we were going to ask in this. I'm not going to lie.
All good. So I think we all know that 10 rounds of Swiss is actually a lot of Swiss, and that should be able to properly divide teams, but it's really, really hard when it's not actually 10 rounds. Like, the value of this Swiss bracket is probably closer to like 6.5, 7 rounds, because we only reseed every 2 matches. And that's just not enough for 300 teams, is the reality. I totally get the difficulty of we all want to be able to reschedule, we all want to have a collegiate scene, but I think what we probably need to do is something where we say, hey, it's going to be these 4 weekends, it's going to be these 5 weekends, and no, this is playtime. Don't sign up for the tournament if you can't do it. I think that's hard. I think we might have to get a little regional for times if that's what we did, and then only start having our Swisses meet between the 2 regions very late in the bracket or something, with a little bit of reschedule room. But we need something that's better than this, because you get teams like SCAD that come out 7-3, where it's like that. I'm sorry, that's just not a 7-3 team, and it's in part because we have a bracket that's going like this, where okay, you're getting a bunch of tough opponents when it doesn't really make sense. The brackets wide very hugely, and they shouldn't, because it's 2 at a time.
Yeah, I mean, and then you have hiccups, and there's issues with reporting scores, and some team is below their win threshold at that point, because for some reason Game Battles didn't put the correct scores in for a team. I wouldn't know who that happened to. I'm not sure entirely.
How did that happen?
I don't know. Well, actually, I could tell you that our director made a team, and then I made a team, and they added the games to the team that only had 1 person on it, as opposed to the one that had the entire starting roster and both subs and the manager and the director of the program on it. So
Was that what caused the entire redoing of the bracket for the last two matches, that they were trying to merge
I think
the
so.
two matches
I think
together?
so, that we were, because we were like, this is 8-0 or 6-0 when we were 7-1 or something like that, and then they threw us up and we played you guys and then Boise. So
Sure.
do you guys want to expand on like the whole regional time thing? Because I know that's definitely a huge thing. That was a debate on Fridays, having games at the time that was like, what was it, 7:30 East Coast, so it would have been 4:30 on the West Coast. Do you guys want to kind of expand on why that would be a bad thing? Like with the whole college experience, I feel like this is going to be the thing that we harp on every single time. But does anybody want to go ahead?
Yeah, not exactly for like ABC, but I know for NACE, our starting time is at 12, so 12 Eastern. So we need a warm up scrim at 11 Eastern, which is already hard enough for esports students. Let me just say, like waking up that late if you're all night grinding, but or waking up that early rather. But then if you're West Coast, that puts starting time at 9 o'clock, which is like 8 o'clock warm up, which is pretty tough to get everything going and be in the zone that early in the day.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think that. Well, correct me if I'm wrong on this one. Wasn't it originally 6:30 for games on Friday for Activision Blizzard, or was I?
Yes.
Okay, because I thought they amended it. So I couldn't remember if it was the 6:30 one. So yeah, that's 3:30. I mean, there's still kids that are in classes. My last class doesn't end until 5:45 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I don't know how late they run classes on Friday. I haven't had a Friday class in my entire college career at this point. So
I'd almost like to see them reseeding more often in the beginning of the Swiss bracket than like later, obviously. So I think the suggestion of the time zone specific would be great for like maybe the first 3-ish weeks of Swiss, and then I think going to, adding on to what Temporal said, I believe was like after that, then we have those set times, or with some time to reschedule and whatnot. I think that just makes the most sense.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's an opportunity that you're able to expand matches and split them between East Coast and West Coast times, because there are just so many teams that are in it at this point. If you have 300 teams in a tournament, I think you're able to split it up between. If you draw a line in the middle of the country and be like, everyone on the west of it is playing at like 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, and then everybody on the east side of it is playing at 7:30 East Coast. I think that's something that would be easily managed and can easily take effect next year. So that wouldn't be a major issue. So any other Activision Blizzard NACE things that you want to talk about before we move on to the next topic? Is there a favorite for ABC? I feel like this is a loaded question to ask.
Very loaded.
React. Who do you think's gonna win Activision Blizzard?
I think we've got a good shot.
You think you got a good shot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the team that has 4 Overwatch League players on it, I think that team has a good shot to win it all. And React, they also have React. So
4 Overwatch League players, and if we had it, the official 7th Man of the Year award for the, like how the NBA and all those other professional sports have a 6th Man of the Year, like bench guy of the year. React 100% takes the 7th Man of the Year award every single time.
We'll see. Neb's pretty good competition for that.
That's true, actually. I feel like both of them are sitting in this call right now, so
we might need a Twitter poll for that one.
Is that going to be a controversial thing if we ever expand out and do awards in the collegiate scene? Is that one of the things that we're going to have to do? We're going to have to do a poll for it. I'd be down. Like, that sounds actually pretty cool.
I think so.
All right.
That'd be fun.
That does sound like a really fun time, actually. Maybe that's something we can consider. Wink, wink, content ideas in the cow Discord. So, but yeah, I mean, does anybody have not Illinois State winning Activision Blizzard at this point? I think just taking a look at it.
You know, I mean, I looked at the calendar and I saw ISU actually had planned that there was going to be some internet performance issues by their ISP, right? No, we've all got ISU. Like, barring events where it's like, oh, they're suddenly having lag spikes.
I definitely consider that as something Spectrum would do, or whichever internet provider you guys have over.
As long as there's not a Call of Duty update on that day, we'll be good. Because they throttled the internet on Call of Duty update days at our school.
Wow,
but I'm good because I live off campus, but the rest of the guys are in the dorms or would be in our vault.
All right, so lesson for any team out there that is looking to compete in the ABC bracket: coerce Vanguard to release a COD update the day of grand finals.
Yep.
I don't know how or what it would take to get to that, but that's where we're at this point. We've already talked about like UT Dallas and Bay State and Northwood and Harrisburg and all of them. Who do we think has the most upset potential to make a deep run in that out of all those teams that we had on that list earlier?
Are we talking NACE or ABC?
ABC. No, okay. Let's swap to. I mean, we don't have a bracket in front of us, so we can't tell because.
If only we knew what that was going to look like. We don't.
If we knew what the bracket was going to look like.
Blizzard scheduling.
Yeah. Right. So I mean, just taking a look at that. Anybody outside of like, Illinois State or Northwood or Dallas, Harrisburg, Maryville, Bay State. Anybody in like, we'll say it in the 7 and beyond, like. Not the main column, but like the people that are sitting on the bottom side of it looking up. Like, who has the best chance out of all of those teams, do you think, to make a deeper bracket run in ABC?
So yeah, I mean, it's the not just who can make top 8, but who could potentially catch one of the big 6 off guard. Probably not ISU, but who could catch one of them off guard, or are we just talking like top 8 potential? What are we looking here?
I think there's anybody who can throw a wrench in the plans and cause an upset run, make a Cinderella run. It doesn't have to necessarily be for the championship, but if they make like a semifinals or if they make finals and upset somebody, who do you think on that list is able to catch somebody off guard the most?
I think SCAD. I think they're like being overlooked, at least in like the players poll. I think they've put together a good team, and not a lot of teams are focusing on them. They're more looking at the big 6, so they catch someone off guard, and then they have a good day. I feel like they can make it to top 4 potentially.
Okay. Temporal, I'll come to you next.
I'd fully back that. I know based on legacy, people might look to teams like Irvine and Utah, but based on what I've seen performance-wise this year, it's SCAD. I would not even be surprised if SCAD took down one of the 6 and, found themselves in the semis, potentially even in the finals there. They're not going to win it all. They're not going to take down ISU, barring internet, people getting massively sick, etc.
Vanguard updates.
But exactly, Vanguard updates. That's the problem. But SCAD would be my pick for sure outside of the 6.
Yeah, I mean,
all right, React. You're sitting at the top of the Sinister 6. You're looking down at the rest of these teams. Who do you think is the one? Do you agree with SCAD, or is there somebody else in mind?
I do agree with SCAD, but the need to be different is in me, and I want to root for my boy Zebra on UCSC.
There you go. I'm getting asked. Temp, make the case for Northeastern.
Sure. So I can make the case for Northeastern in the form of Northeastern has some good talent at that school. We've got a very good tank line. We have very good coaching. Funny how we got that. And, we can put this through. We can look at it and go, we know how to grind our macro, and we are better at macro than a lot of the teams, even that are positioned above us. We don't necessarily have the absolute strongest roster, but if teams get sloppy, if teams try to rely too much on out mechanicking us, they will get into trouble and we will fight our way in. Again, we're not going to take down ISU. I don't have the Twitch stream pulled up, so I don't know who said make the case for Northeastern, but I can make a guess. But we could absolutely do some damage if we caught teams on the right day. Again, we did hop in some of the tier 3 tournaments. We took maps off Gaia. We took down Shikigami. We're doing what we have to sharpen our fangs for these playoffs.
Okay. All right. I came into this thinking I'm going to say SCAD, and then people are going to be like, "Oh, Irvine, Boise, Utah, your normal teams." I guess it turns out I was thinking with the majority. So I have to take a look. I mean, I would say SCAD too. Like that was the team that I was kind of focused on, that I was looking at, that I've seen play, and I think they're pretty good. I think they're really good, actually. So them or better take a look at it. We've played Boise, we've played Northeastern. I haven't seen Utah at all this semester, actually. I'm going to be honest. So I'll double down and just say SCAD instead. So, all right. So I believe we're going to move on to the next topic. Collegiate Overwatch players turning into OWL players. Is collegiate the future for scouting? Are we taking over tier 2? I feel like this is a
react question.
So, being on kind of like the ground floor, if you want to call it that, I've kind of got to see it, and I feel like I have a unique perspective. So, what I'd like to say is I think that collegiate is a great alternative or even pit stop for every Contenders player that's looking to go Overwatch League. And even it's a great, maybe they don't want to go Overwatch League, but they want to get something out of all the time they put in Overwatch. I think collegiate is the perfect place to kind of house that talent. Let it be their plans are to go to OWL or their plans are to get a degree. I think collegiate's in a really good space to just be that space right now. And I think I'd like to see a lot more integration between these sponsored like collegiate tournaments and Contenders, match times. The biggest example would have to be the Cheez-It tournament over the last summer and how it overlapped with Contenders finals. So like our team had to literally pull out of the Cheez-It tournament because of the time conflict and the inability to move the matches. So I think it's there. We just need everyone, and I mean everyone when it comes to tournament organizers and TOs and whatnot, to be on the same page.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people being vocal about Contenders and collegiate tournaments very much so overlapping with each other. Temporal, do you think that... Oh, this is actually a spicy one. Thank you, Thumper. Do you think Contenders players from Korean or Chinese Contenders would ever play an NH Collegiate? This is for anybody.
Yeah, no, they will, and the reason they will is the same reason. I mean, like, it's not exactly unusual or weird to have people from China, people from other parts of Asia to come over to West Coast universities. I live on the West Coast, and we get them in droves. It's very common. And are you going to see that continue into the esports scene? I absolutely don't see why not.
Yeah, I can speak on this a bit. So our flex support for Bay State, Abs, he is in EU Contenders. He's on the one trick team, the funny one. But so he played last season on from Bay State on EU servers, like the day he was moving in. So he had to like borrow someone's PC, and it was pretty funny. But he was playing. We were all like rooting for him in the other room, trying to keep it down. So I think at least EU Contenders definitely have a good shot at coming over and playing. You'll see that more and more. I think there's a couple others. Maybe I think there might be. I can't remember which teams, but I think there's a couple of EU contenders or previous EU contenders come over to NA Collegiate, and I think it'll be more popular in the years coming.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely hearing from both sides of the coin or both coasts has really strengthened this argument a little bit. I definitely could see players from other contenders regions coming over and playing in collegiate if it gets big enough and if it makes enough traction. And so far, I think that with 8 people being signed from collegiate teams, I think it's making a pretty good headway at this point. So definitely think, and I mean, you can look at other games too, like, because I'm not one of those people that is just like Overwatch. So I've like, and this is something that I've noticed too, like in Rocket League, there are collegiate players that have been playing in the pros. There's league players that went from collegiate last year from Maryville to the LCS right away. They skipped the academy / proving grounds scene entirely. There's the option out there. And I mean, I think we can all have noticed in our however long we've been in collegiate, like we've noticed how much growth there's been. I've been in this for 4 years at this point, and the average SR of teams when I started was like, of like the high end teams was like 4-1. Like if you were a 4.1K, yeah, if you were a 4K team in collegiate like 4 years ago, you were sitting at the top. You were the kings. You were the higher end of it. And now we've got rosters like Illinois State. We've got UT Dallas, who's pulled in Pedal. We've got all of these teams that are bringing contenders talent in. And I just don't think, I think it's just going to keep going up and up and up. And if you're not getting with the times, you're going to fall behind sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Go on. I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
You know what happens. Anybody else want to add on to the path to pro conversation at this point?
I'll continue it because I think it's important. And we look at the path to pro, and Overwatch sort of set itself up with a mirror to baseball in terms of the sport that it was looking at for how it built out contenders. It thought of farm leagues, etc. And that makes a lot of sense for baseball, an ancient sport with a ton of buy-in and that sort of thing. But because we don't have that, because the contract difference between having someone in lock and having someone in lock for basically, hey, they're part of the program already versus we have to pay them 80 million for this contract, etc. That difference is just not the same in Overwatch between what you pay on a contenders team versus what you pay in L. And until we see differences of that sort, the contenders ecosystem has a bit of a limit to its future. I think I can say that here with you guys. I think some people might object to that and go, no, contenders has to exist. And in some way it has to exist, but it's an expensive thing to keep going for the sake of having a path to pro that collegiate is really better formulated to maintain because they can figure out their own things to do with it the way we have with football, with basketball, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, you know, Blizzard's been kind of they've kind of held off on like open division and contenders. There's like taking a small break potentially until Overwatch 2. So at least for the rest of this semester, collegiate's basically the only way to see high level Overwatch in team wise, other than like just ranked and streaming.
I thought you said high level play, ranked and straight. Come on, okay, yeah, you're right. It's
too many Roadhogs in ranked, right?
Oh yeah.
I don't even know what meta and comp is at this point. I'm going to be honest. I haven't played comp in years at this point. Ever since I stopped playing, I was just one of those things that I'm just like, I'm glad that I can just sit back and watch the game as compared to actually having to sit and grind it because the experiences are not so great from what I've heard. But yeah, I mean, your baseball example, that's actually when I explain esports to people that are outside of the scene, because they know me as that guy that I've been doing this for years at this point in various different levels, that I always explain it's like it's Major League Baseball when it comes to the tiers of like whatever the game is. You know, you got your your actual major leagues, and then you've got your AAA, your AA, your single A, everything like that. That's the best, because I think that's just the most straightforward way that you can describe it to people. So I definitely am glad that you used that example, and am kind of upset that you stole my thunder when it came to potentially talking about that. So, all right, another question. How do you guys balance classes? As we've talked about the college experience before we get into our review, how does everybody balance their classes with actual collegiate competition?
So I can speak on this as like a collegiate athlete. I chose to like do online instead of like in person, like some of my teammates. Just so I could stay up late and be doing homework and stuff between queues, because I'm a ranked grinder. So being able to
Couldn't
do
tell.
it, being able to do it at any time, like really helps me, because I have a lot of free time randomly throughout the day. But if you have to like sit down and go to class, I'm sure it could be a lot really tough, especially with the scrim schedule and NACE matchups being like weird times. So I I think it could be tough, but you can like work around it.
Mm-hmm. React. How does your guys' practice schedule and your guys' college experience go?
So we kept a pretty normal practice schedule. I know earlier you guys mentioned someone mentioned that the contenders teams are used to scrimming more. Our team was all about quality over quantity. And so like they were making sure that during those, that during that scrim block, they were going to put all their attention and focus into that scrim block, and nothing else mattered other than that scrim block. And they were really good about doing that almost all the time. Obviously, things aren't always perfect, but yeah, I know like that was, we weren't sitting there scrimming like, oh, 6 hours, let's go, let's hit the grind, whereas some people might be doing that. But I know for me specifically, because I mean, I went to every single one of our, and I still do go to our scrims and whatnot. And I'll spectate and watch. I'll take notes on the players and whatnot and expand my game knowledge, which is fun. But I'm in senior level classes. I have a senior project that, takes what they ask is 45 hours throughout the semester. And that's of like research and stuff. And that by itself, like it's like a 10 to 12 page paper that I have to write. I had to present on it this past Tuesday, and it's like, it's a lot. It's for like senior level classes, for like the capstone stuff. It's a lot. It's all time management, so it gets trickier. I've had to cut down on my ranked time.
Mm-hmm. On average, how many ranked games do you play a week?
Right now, probably like 10 to 14. And that's like top end just right now. I know over the summer though, it was like if I wasn't queuing, I was sleeping.
Yeah, I'd like to not mention how many ranked games I play per week. We could just.
I mean, if that's gonna keep you out of trouble, then don't go ahead. Go ahead, don't ask. I won't ask, and you don't have to tell, so that's fine. Temporal, how do you find the balance in all of this?
So I obviously don't have to find the balance for myself because I'm not a student, I'm, a coach, etc. But I'm very aware of it for my players. I am checking in with my players before the season starts to see what does their sleep schedule look like, what are they doing in terms of exercises, and then we're checking in throughout this season to be like, okay, what midterms are coming up for you? What do you have? Okay, how much sleep are you getting now? How has your diet changed? Because this is performance and this is what matters, and it's tough to keep people, especially when they're college students, and it's so easy to stay up late, do things, go, wait, let me do one more ranked game, let me push for 4,500 on the ladder instead of 4,400, that sort of thing. Like, yeah, it's tough, and you have to keep an eye on them. They're good, mature, they're working on being adults. I'd say they are adults at this point. That's what we recognize them as. But you do have to keep an eye on your players because the temptation is there to just go hard on some of this stuff.
Okay, that's a good answer, actually, because I was taking it during the I was doing the same thing pretty much. That's one of my things that I like to do. I've had people go into quarantine this semester just because COVID's still a thing, and it's one of those things that's very interesting when I'm trying to coordinate with our director and Res Life, like, hey, by the way, we have a match on Friday night, and my player that just got in yesterday needs his computer so that he can actually play matches. How do I go about doing this? Because there's like stuff that's going on with it, and I'm just checking in. I'm making sure there's dynamics in the team. And that's, I think, one of the best things about my group that I can speak for, and I can assume that most teams can speak for it. We don't get mad at each other. We just like get pretend mad just so that it's like almost funny kind of mad. But at the same time, the core of our roster has been together for 4 years now. So like we've known each other since freshman year. So like everyone just gets along. And one of the things that other teams on our program actually tell me is they're kind of jealous of how friendly we are and like how easily we integrate the new person into the team. So that's definitely something that I would say, taken as an example, if you're a coach, if you're a player, if you're coming into a program, or if you've been there for a long time, just figure out how you can create a positive environment for everybody on your team, just so that if you do have a bad night of scrims, if you have a rough loss, there's not insults being thrown around. There's not all of the negativity that can come with it. And that's definitely the part of the balance that I would say is proper, and definitely making sure that everyone's getting their homework and stuff done on time and attending all their classes is important too. All right. Anything else on the esports and college life balance or the college experiences? Temporal has. I think we should just trademark it for you at this point. Honestly, every video I've seen you do is like, oh well, this just varies based on the college experience. So we might have to get that trademarked eventually and see if we can make that work for a phrase in this network that we're creating. So, anybody else have anything?
No.
All right. I think we are going to do a review with Temporal. You want to set the stage for us here?
I mean, I can set the stage for us here. I think Neb could set the stage for us just as well here, but we've got a match that we've pulled up here. We will be sharing shortly, and what we're looking at is a matchup that happened here between Bay State and Boise, and we're going to be taking a look just at one round here, see how it went, and we'll do a little bit of coaching, both, from a, hey, what could have been done differently, how could this have changed, as well as we can get into the mind of a player that was there.
Yep. This was in Play Versus, by the way, if anyone was wondering. It was on Monday.
Excellent.
So for us, we were running Double Shield with Mercy, which is rare for me to play Mercy, by the way. Don't expect it in ranked. But yeah, just for like Echo Pocket, basically.
Okay, so you're on the Mercy for the Echo Pocket. You guys are setting up a bunker here. Do you guys have an expectation of what they're going to play at this point, or is this you just going, nope, we're defending with this. We feel this is flexible enough to handle anything they're going to throw at us?
Yeah, we feel like mechanically, we can make it work no matter what comp they're running, and hopefully force a mirror, which we feel like we'd win.
Cool. Then let's get into it here. Okay, so we set up. We've got some early scouting through the window there. They're going to go do their Sombra. That's not terribly unusual from teams just to do the Sombra swap there. This is literally a team that is, Boise here is literally just going, hey, we're going to run our Sombra out, teleport back. We can, of course, do the quick swap to see now we know what the other team is on, and we can pick how we're going to beat it. And they, it looks like, are going to, off of that, decide that they want to run their own double shield comp at it. So they didn't want to run Brawl. That's not too terribly surprising, given that we're looking at, hey, Brawl into Poke isn't a terribly fun matchup in general. So they're pushing through here. You guys are set up with pretty standard lane control here in terms of where you've positioned your people, and let's see how you guys cooldown cycle this. So obviously you don't have to leak any great secrets here in terms of what's happening, but we look at this and we sort of go, hey, we throw out a halt, and this is a nice halt, but do we really expect follow-up on this halt? Like, I'm a little surprised in some ways that we're throwing a halt here when I know we've got stickies on cooldown. I know we can't really get a TNT on this. Is this something you guys generally coordinate around, or do you just trust that Faded is going to get his own eliminations based on this halt?
Well, a lot of it's for like poke damage, so you get your ults up, and then also there's a chance we have Forgotten on the Ash who hits ridiculous shots. So if it's one pull, there's a chance for an easy two tap with like
Sure.
Orisa. So
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Okay, and I just want to mirror that with their pull there because we want to sort of see how that's going. And for those who aren't aware, polls sort of become something that teams will focus a bit around when it comes to poke versus poke because polls are sort of the beginning of your cooldown cycle. You sort of can run into pressure cycles. Yes, the poke team is going to constantly have some level of pressure, but the reason that I'm focusing on the halts here is the halt can be a real symbol for, hey, this is the beginning. We're going to throw a halt, we're going to throw a fresh shield, then we can get a TNT, a storm arrow, a rock, that sort of thing, and that can sort of be the burst. And if it doesn't work, we've got the potential to close angles. Now, that's not always what's going to happen. You can absolutely use it to slow down a team's rotation. You can use it in other ways, but that's why we'd put some emphasis on this. Oh, did I miss the halt? My bad, not quite enough of a rewind. We'll deal with that. Okay. Okay. So Fade is, of course, going to survive that just fine. They're going to get not too wild of a res off there. And you guys are just really not giving them any sort of opening to get in here, which is great.
yeah, just keep our angles. Don't let them through the choke easily without using too many resources. That's like their goal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We see the TNT going through the window, other direction, now this direction. We see the good crossfire from Fade here, any sort of pushing through Infernal and Cave. This is exactly what we're looking for. But that was pretty aggressive from Infernal. Let's take a quick look here. So I look at this and this is like, hey, this could potentially be a finish off of some sort, but I'm a little surprised that we see Infernal doing this just because we go here, and I'm not really seeing or hearing a big enough opening. Like there was definitely a TNT here, and that's interesting. But Sigma's pretty vulnerable. Sigma's not a very good brawl hero. Sigma's the sort of much less so than Orisa even. So I'm a little surprised that we're going, hey, we're going to push through. I assume this was originally for the Hanzo, but this potentially creates an opening in your guys' defense if he gets held in with the halt, something like this. Or how do you feel about this? Do you feel you can pocket him, you can protect him enough? I mean, you're on the mercy here. You're probably the most able to do so of this setup.
Yeah, and we have Lamp.
Hmm.
We trust Infernal. We think he's probably the most mechanically gifted Sig in Collegiate.
Okay.
Might be a hot take, but I've like he hits everything basically, and he knows how to live with very limited resources. So if we have Lamp, he's free to do whatever he wants.
Okay, so you guys are of the opinion that, hey, we can get a little silly aggressive on this to push for eliminations because, hey, that's going to reset them. That's going to take a ton more time off the clock. And we have such a defensible position that we can fall into a situation where our concave is so strong, our positioning, our cover is so good that we can play without Lamp and be just fine. Sure. 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 Obviously, we've got the combination, the double assist there. Halt plus Mercy is pretty great. And now we're going to get very aggressive off of our window. Okay, sure. Let's just do a quick rewind here to sort of see how Boise could have driven this a little bit better. So we're doing this. We know at this point that Bay State has themselves a lead. They've managed to establish that lead. They're going to force a bigger lead with window. You guys, I assume, are pushing through here because, hey, they are having to go for that res. This is an opening. It's going to put us ahead. And this is very nice in what we see in terms of the Ash doesn't chill back. The Ash is pushing forward. Everyone understands this is a push opportunity, and this is what we want. On the other hand, we see over here for Boise, we have the lamp that went down, which is good. We have our tanks that are sort of holding angles, and that's fantastic. But this doesn't really work. We can't have our tanks holding these angles as we're going for this res here. We need to fall back into these angles as this window comes through after this res is over, not early like this. Would you have a different take, Neb, or what are you thinking?
No, I think just we push our advantage really well. So if we get a pick and they're forced to res, that means the Mercy has no effect on the fight really for
Sure.
3 seconds. So if we can force more cooldowns out of them, then that's a win in our books. More time for them to have to reset, and if we get a pick, another pick, then we win the team fight.
Absolutely. Okay. So this is a good effort from the Orisa here from Boise to go, hey, I'm not through the window. I can at least do this. And it is able to help force the fortify here. So good effort here. But ultimately, this is just too much that they're going to be behind, I expect. And we should see this pretty much get rolled over and you guys cycle that into more ults. You, of course, do. Orisa not then back out. That actually surprises me a bit. Overstayed the welcome a bit. Okay. Full on aggression, sure. And why don't you talk me through that one? So that's a flux, and that's a flux in their spawn. Is that because, hey, the flux is worth enough of a stagger here, or is that for the mental damage? And you can be honest with us.
It's a lot of mind games, right?
Sure.
Normally we choose one player to focus on just to like tilt. And Infernal, I think before the match, Boise was like looking at our SRs on their stream, and we like heard them, and they said there's going to be like a take difference in Boise's favor. And Infernal was kind of he kind of sought to make that not happen. So we kind of focused on their tanks a little bit, and that was our mind games.
Sure. Okay, we should see Boise pushing out both. They have to use both spawn doors here. Like, I get that they just lost someone over here. I get it's frustrating and it feels bad that they just lost someone over here, but they have to be rotating some of these people over here because their fresher respawns are going to have the slower time. And factoring in our time bank, this needs to be a situation where these guys recognize we can't 3v6 right now. We have to rotate down to this spawn and let some of the respawns then take this angle just because of where people show up in here. Like, this is a time saver that they are frankly burning time here. Okay. That said, I'm a little surprised that you guys are fully keeping this here. So you've set up some good solid angles here, and that you've got Infernal watching the off angle there. You've got this in terms of, hey, we've got a bit of a, we've got effectively 2 quadrants watched. But do you feel the need, or do you feel there'd be any value in, say, setting your pharmacy, not your pharmacy, setting your echo up over here? I'm a little surprised that we've sort of maintained this with this flight cycle. Do you think you'd do that differently, or do you think this protects Cave better?
I mean, setting up top left is never a bad idea, but at this point we're just all in, touch the doors. So.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the mini game. You got to touch the doors, of course. Yeah. But like, I guess my point more here is in the realm of, here we go. Obviously, you guys are winning, so we're not going to be too harsh on you. But that's a use of flight right there, and we could definitely use this flight to get a little more of this angle. And while it takes away your ability to jump to your team, and maybe that's it. Maybe you're saying, hey, no, I want to play from over here because I want the ability to jump to teammates and not just pocket you. But I think in most situations, we'd say, hey, while using this flight, we can be using the mobility of it still to put our pressure here, but to rotate in this direction. Is that? Yeah, I mean, that's what I'd say there. And I'm putting you a bit on the spot because we're talking about your team and your teammates, and you don't necessarily get to micro your teammates. I can do that from the outside and say, hey, Cade, you did this wrong. What are you doing? And I won't ask you to comment, but that's fine.
Yeah,
if you want, that's fine.
Normally we don't in scrim, so we don't hold up here, so probably a little lack, but we were feeling
Okay.
very confident. So
So in scrims, is that something where you intentionally aren't spawn holding, or do you just feel this spawn isn't a good enough spawn hold?
well, this spawn is like hard,
Sure.
especially for double shield because you have to you have to like very quickly win the team fight
Hmm.
to set up like in good positions. And then some teams just run brawl with a sim and speed past you, so that's always an issue. Uh,
Right, but like a spawn hold doesn't generally happen. I'm not talking an off the bat spawn hold. I'm talking you force them back into a spawn hold like this. And are you really worried about a sim swap? I feel like if the team swapped to sim brawl, A, they're emptying their ult charge, and B, I don't actually think they can get past you once you've set up your angles like that. Is that really a concern?
not necessarily, I guess.
Okay.
Being put on the spot is kind of hard, but
No,
you
no,
know.
no. It's totally fine. I do this all day, every day. So like, everyone be easy on Neb. These are his teammates, and I'm asking, was this wrong? Like, I'm putting you in tough spots by all means. So absolutely, good stuff. I'll pick on Boise more, and you can tell me what they're doing wrong. How's that?
That sounds better.
Okay. So I hate this. I hate what Boise has done. What do you think about what Boise has done here?
I think we put them in a spot where they have to use ults to take
Sure,
space, but
absolutely.
I think getting different or more angles better than all funneling out the door into like a Mercy Echo is a better idea.
Perfect. Perfect. I'm totally on the same page, and I'm also happy that we've now seen Cabe take the angle that I wanted as well as your Ash. But hey, cool. That's just brutal. This would be so much easier to break if they had literally any pressure coming from this direction. It would turn this angle and this angle into the same angle for the people over here. Oh, I seem to have lost my mouse. For the people over here, as well as it would mean the Orisa would basically have to back off to play from here. So, yeah, we definitely like to see more of that going on than we did. Now we do see them starting to cycle. Hmm. Okay, so let's just watch this one more time and then we'll go fast because I don't want to spend too much time on this. But ultimately, as they do get through here, it's going to be a case of, hey, Infernal's backed over here. He's been pushed back. They're ultimately using some good ult power, but you guys have to figure out, hey, what can we do to recontest? And you're going to get caught here, so we're going to have to. Nope, you're not going to get caught here. You're going to clean that back up. Even better. So this is probably a case where they should be able to win this with spawn differential. Like they should be able to go, hey, let's stabilize, let's hit our cooldown cycles, let's use cover, let's tuck behind these sorts of things, and use our barrier to get back into spawn if we have to. And they should from there be able to turn this around and do it. But instead, we see the Orisa hard pushing forward like that's really in any way an option. I mean, this just wasn't really an option to do. The health, the resources that Boise have really don't allow for that. This needed to be a, hey, I'm going to try to take cover against your Ash while having cover against this. This is really just not recognizing the proper pressure cycles and that they are going to win this with respawn advantage. They are going to be in an okay situation once their cooldowns, their resources come back and they're able to do a little healing. Or do you have a different take? Do you think that no, they were just boned here?
Yeah, I mean, I think they should win the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Equal skill. Most likely you win that initial fight at the spawn hold probably
Mm-hmm.
40% of the time. So but I have all faith in my teammates. So even if three of us do go down, like what happened, they
Mm-hmm.
should still be able to win the fight and then back up and wait for us to regroup.
Oh yeah, and you guys are absolutely correct to continue to push this. Even though they're in a situation where they got a limbs on you, you guys recognize that they got a limbs on you, but they're all really low on resources. They spent their health, they spent their power to get these, and you need to trade these back right now. So this is absolutely correct from you guys. Just go in hard, and when you go in hard and they can't stabilize, that works out well. Okay, let's see them organize. We've probably got one, maybe two more attacks in them here, and we'll just do the one round. Okay. Okay. and now you recognize that they have a good strong ult cycle. You guys correctly pulled your people over here, whereas they went, hey, and you did this, I'm sure, because you recognized that Faded would be coming from back here, and that would be your left side power. Is that a correct assumption, or was this where all of these people would always be? Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't calmed, but everyone was on the same page.
Perfect. And then we see this happen. And I look at this, and this is a little bit disappointing because they absolutely have the tools rather than taking a firefight with you to go, hey, do the proper scouting and fight your Sigma. I mean, this is going to be tough. Like, you guys obviously have a little bit of a delay in your respawn here. They can potentially have something distract you, but this seems like a situation where a little more awareness means they push your Sigma. Or do you think your Sigma is safe if they try to push that?
Hold on. It's hard to see.
Oh, sorry. Your Sigma's Infernal's over here.
No.
And they're over here.
Yeah, they're putting resources into our right side from this point of view. So Inferno's free on the left side, and then he has his grasp to get out, plus rock and a lot of cover on the left side. Multiple ways to get out.
Totally agree that they are putting resources into fighting you. I would argue that as this happens and as they see this, even with this window down, at this point, this is probably a all huddle in, rotate with tank shifts, and go fight Infernal. And, you guys can try to use your resources to get down here and shoot them in the back. But I think with their tank resources, they probably push Infernal, and you guys have line of sight issues here in terms of the follow up here. So I think this is a mistake on their part to not punish Infernal. But I'm certainly interested in a different take. You really think Infernal's totally safe here? Because I think this window is enough to put you guys in a situation where you don't really want to drop to go help him. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think Infernal can definitely stretch out the defense or the offense
Sure.
because they're slow, right? They don't have at least a speed boost, and Infernal can definitely live long enough for the rest of us to pick him off on rotation if they were to chase Infernal.
Okay. So then let's flip this. So I think that's fine, but what do you think they should have done in this perspective? Because I look at this and go, hey, they're opening with the tools that they have as potentially to push your off tank. But I'm putting you on the spot. I'm not trying to make you say your teammates did things wrong. That's really not where I'm trying to go here. But how do you think Boise should approach this? I mean, you've got the cheat, you've got the overhead cam, you can see the ult percentage, you see that they're in a reasonable spot. They have, slightly better ult bank than you, slightly better tempo. How should they have won this fight?
They're not using the other openings in the choke
Sure.
point. They're not using like top left window to like have Echo fly through or Ash coach gone up. So that's one big mistake they're doing.
Sure.
I think if you use those angles you can easily pick off Ash and Bap with like a pull and a window with Bap spam from main choke and then Ash and Echo from the other chokes, I guess.
Okay. So you think it's just not enough window usage, and I think that's reasonable if they don't tuck their Ash. Yeah, it's pretty weak that they overstack for this window. This is definitely a little too much interest in this. They definitely should have popped the Ash up to the window. I'm on the same page with you there. Window battles. High ground is just a buff. High ground wins. Nothing too surprising there.
Again,
And
solo
there's the
flexing
tilt.
the sig.
Yep. Totally get what that was about. And that is a real thing for viewers, by the way. It's maybe not the most solid strategically, but it is part of team strategies sometimes to tilt a player to force that sort of thing. It's part of the damage spawn camping does too. But absolutely valid. Okay. You guys find the pickoff, and now they're just going to be in a desperate situation. And that's the end of it. They're going to flux. It's not going to matter. Take them down. And that really does it. So we're okay with that. I think we can wrap this up here. If I looked at this from Boise's perspective, what would you say from Boise's perspective? I think it's going to be hard for you to look at your own team and say things do better because you guys did great. What do you think Boise overall could have done better here, Neb?
They're not using their resources efficiently to push past the choke. I don't think they ever got past the choke in the 4 minutes. other than maybe a couple steps inside of it. So if you can minimize your resources to take space, then you have a better shot at creating more angles to fight off the defense.
So when you say minimize the resources to take space, are you saying you want, say, them to take less damage on their way to the choke? You want their tanks to cycle how they push differently? You want better window control? What are you talking about there?
Mostly like tank cooldowns. So if you can save a shield to get someone into like the bottom right room, then just using one shield, then you have the next shield to poke out and have your DPS late peak choke.
Sure.
That's a really good way to take hard angles, and then basically force the defense to choose which one you want to go after.
Fantastic. I think we could talk a little bit more about how, there could have been a little more angle play in the push that they used window on. There could have been a little more angle play at their spawn, but I think those are two excellent pieces that we could look at here of, hey, we've actually got to find a way past the choke. It's not a stationary comp that just sits there until the pick. You do have to find a way to go, sure, you can have a poke battle, but you're against another poke team. Use those tank resources to get in a little bit and then rotate to cover. I personally think they could have rotated through Inferno there. You don't. That's fine. We can have a difference of opinion. And then ultimately we have the situation where beyond that, there are angles that they could more consistently play here. But yeah, that's what we've got here. Do we have any other questions from anyone else? If not, I think we are pretty much good to go on this one.
I got nothing.
Cool. Then I think that does it, and I think we can call that the end of a successful podcast. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think it was a good. I think it was a good debut episode.
Cool.
We'll definitely figure this out. I would like to thank everybody first off for showing up. Reacts had to leave early. Well wishes to him. Definitely was fun having him on, and thank you, Neb, for coming in and being a guest as well as getting thrown on the hot seat during the review. So, and Temporal, great job as well. Definitely learned a few things in that. And we'll be back in 2 weeks. We're going to take the week of Thanksgiving off for the holiday. Everyone should be with your families. Spend time with your loved ones. And thank you for listening to us. For React, Neb, and Temporal, I'm Badger, and we are signing off. Thank you very much, and have a nice evening, everyone.